At this point with Sheryl Swoopes, I wish that she would just get off Twitter because she is digging herself in a deeper hole. And at this point, it looks so unprofessional. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that if she wasn't a WNBA legend, she would be fired by now.
Is Sheryl Swoopes close to being fired because she can't stop hating on Caitlin Clark? She's already been removed from one broadcast, and if things don't change, she might end up looking for a new job once the season is done. But the drama didn't end there. She was replaced on the broadcast by another WNBA legend who said a few things during the broadcast that sit quite well with Swoopes. Everything culminated in a Twitter feud, which included the broadcasting superstar Stephen A. Smith. So what exactly happened? Is Sheryl Swoopes really about to get fired? What's her beef with Caitlin Clark in the first place? Okay, let's start from the beginning and explain the situation in detail and hear what Rachel DeMita had to say about it later. The ongoing drama surrounding Sheryl Swoopes took an unexpected turn recently. Known as a WNBA legend and respected commentator, Swoopes was suddenly removed from her usual spot in the days leading up to the Indiana Fever vs. Dallas Wings game.
Sheryl Swoopes is a big name in WNBA media. She has her own podcast where she talks about all things WNBA except Caitlin Clark. And she also does commentary for the Dallas Wings games. And she has pretty much covered every single home game for the Dallas Wings except this last game.
The move caught fans and media members off guard because everyone has been used to Swoopes covering Dallas Wings home games. She was replaced by another WNBA legend, Nancy Lieberman, which only fueled speculation about Swoopes' absence.
A lot of people had been speculating if Sheryl Swoopes was going to cover this game because up until now, she has not been able to say anything nice about Caitlin Clark, nor has she been able to even speak her name. So for this specific game against the Fever, they replaced her with another WNBA legend, Nancy Lieberman.
It didn't long for fans to connect the dots, since Sheryl Swoopes has been criticizing Caitlin Clark and her play for over a year at this point. As a matter of fact, fans were already wondering how Swoopes handled commentating on her games, since there were times where she refused to acknowledge her name during broadcasts.
Of the week, both of them had outstanding weeks, and they're the next two opponents for the Wings. Caitlin Clark will be here on Sunday for the week, averaged 25, and Avisa Collier averaged over 25. Tough stretch for Dallas.
Well, the WNBA seemingly decided not to take the chance and put Lieberman on the broadcast instead, who did a phenomenal job. As rumors swirled about Swoopes being fired, the WNBA stayed silent on the specifics. Social media buzzed with opinions, some fans happy about the decision, while others saw it as a dramatic fallout of Swoopes' refusal to acknowledge Clark's achievements. What was even more interesting, Caitlin Clark had one hell of a game, scoring 28 points, dishing out 12 assists, all while knocking down 5 three-pointers.
The Fever came up with a big win that night. Caitlin Clark had 28 points, 5 three-pointers, 12 assists, and 4 rebounds. And Kelsey Mitchell also had an insane game, 36 points, 5 threes, also 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. This duo is the best backcourt in the WNBA. I need to make an entire video on that because these two are absolutely lighting it up.
The reporting done by Nancy Lieberman was received greatly by fans everywhere. One thing that stood out is that she took the opportunity to say that Caitlin should be celebrated and not tolerated during one segment. Some thought this was a jab at Swoopes, however. Rachel DeMita thought differently.
Basketball at ODU. You guys, Nancy is nothing but kind, welcoming. She's one of the kindest women in this industry. She welcomed me with open arms when I was going to the Big Three. She was super helpful. She's so knowledgeable about basketball. She is respected by all. She's tough, but she's also fair. And she is very quick to give people who deserve their flowers. She will give them their flowers. She is so grateful. So many times on the Big Three broadcast, she would go out of her way to thank the people behind the scenes that no one ever sees. She would thank our travel department, thank production, thank people live on television. Like, that is who Nancy is. When Nancy gets a chance to praise someone else and elevate them, she does it. And that's what she was doing here with Caitlin. I would bet all the money in the world by her praising Caitlin was not a jab at anyone else. So the fans online and the people who are riding behind Sheryl Swoopes and they think anybody who's praising Caitlin is throwing jabs at Sheryl Swoopes, that's just not the way it is.
After the game, on social media, a lot of fans were speculating whether Swoopes was fired or not. Sheryl took the opportunity to get back at the fans and try to defend what was left of her reputation and credibility.
So anyway, Nancy covered this game. Because of that, it set the wheels in motion more because a lot of people were like, did Sheryl Swoopes get fired? They took her off this game. And a lot of people were also happy about that because we don't know what her commentary would have been like with the fever on the court. So of course, there were many tweets going back and forth. Sheryl Swoopes has been very active on Twitter, responding to her haters and calling out different people. And she decided to screenshot text messages between her and Caitlyn.
During the ongoing controversy between Sheryl Swoopes and Caitlin Clark, Stephen A. Smith, a prominent sports media personality, weighed in on the matter. He openly criticized Swoopes for her behavior, particularly for not acknowledging Clark's rising stardom and for omitting her from discussions despite Clark's game-changing performances. Smith made it clear that Swoopes, as a respected figure in basketball, needed to do better in her role as a commentator, especially when someone as impactful as Clark was shaping the WNBA.
In my previous video, Stephen A. Smith has called out Sheryl Swoopes, basically saying, like, you have to do better. If you're working in media, you at least have to acknowledge Caitlin Clark. She is the story. She is the face of the league. What you're doing is furthering the narrative that there are haters out there who just want to see the downfall of Caitlin Clark. You being at the forefront of that, you being a WNBA legend, basically saying, like, it's just not a good look, Sheryl Swoopes, you need to do better. So he called her out on her show. Stephen A. Smith is, no stranger to controversy and beef with other people in the media and athletes.
In response to the critique, Swoopes took to Twitter and defended herself. She stated that she had every right to talk about players she knows personally and suggested that Smith hadn't listened to her entire podcast episode before making his judgment. Swoopes also pushed back by saying Smith could talk about whomever he wanted on his own show, implying she had the same freedom on hers. Stephen A. didn't hold back, reinforcing his point that it wasn't a good look for Swoopes to sideline a rising star like Clark in such a public way. The drama reached new levels, with many fans feeling the tension was becoming more about personal grievances than basketball.
A champion! Look at her tweet and what she put up about me. You talk about whomever and whatever you want to on your podcast, correct? So why can't I? Also, did you listen to the entire episode? Nope. I have a personal relationship with these players, and they deserve recognition as well. That ain't the point, Sheryl Swoopes. Yes, I did listen to your entire podcast. You didn't mention Caitlin Clark. So I was right, number one. Number two, your personal relationship, what that got to do with your coverage? Ain't nobody said don't mention them. Ain't nobody said don't applaud them. Nobody told you to ignore them. What we're saying is if you're going to give the Indiana Fever all the credit in the world, how you going to mention the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark's name even coming up? So then after that, Sheryl Swoopes engages in levels of immaturity. There's no way to slice it. I'm not going to insult this champion, this great basketball mind, this phenomenally accomplished Hall of Famer. I'm not going to insult her. All I'm going to say is it was pretty damn immature to come back at me like that. Called me an effing coward?
Long before this drama started, Swoopes' problems with Clark began. It all started during Caitlin's college career. Swoopes, a WNBA champion and Hall of Famer, was outspoken in her critiques of Clark's playing style. She frequently downplayed Clark's scoring achievements, even questioning the legitimacy of records Clark broke at Iowa. Swoopes argued that Clark had multiple unfair advantages that allowed her to break the record.
This isn't just for Caitlin, but you asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time.
First, she said that Clark had an extra year of eligibility granted during the COVID-19 pandemic, which wasn't true and was easy to check.
If Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record? So this is her, she's a senior. She's a senior, but I think her COVID year was last year. Or this year? I don't know.
Sheryl also took issue with Clark's high shot volume, saying that she took over 40 shots per game and implying that her team would be playing better if she wasn't so selfish.
Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Carry on.
I know you like that.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
But the most confusing claim Sheryl Swoopes made about Caitlin Clark was that she was actually a 25-year-old playing against young girls in college.
Let's also talk about how much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them. But you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. Like, you should be killing them. Because you've been doing it a lot longer than they have.
All of these claims were bogus. Clark did play only 4 years in college, took less than 20 shots per game during her career, and was in fact 22 when Swoopes made these claims. The most confusing thing about it was that she could have easily fact-checked this information. Was this simply a case of tough love from a legend, or was it a deeper resentment toward a new star taking the spotlight? Interestingly enough, Nancy Lieberman, the WNBA legend that replaced Swoopes as a commentator, thought the latter was true. She called her to tell her that, and as a result, Swoopes stopped talking to her.
That said, Caitlin was, 25 years old. She was, 24 years old. She was a fifth-year senior. Right. She was taking 40 shots a game. Her records were illegitimate. And I got off the treadmill and I called her as a friend. And I said, you can say whatever you want. You can have your own opinion about anybody, but you do have to get the statistics right. I mean, facts matter. And if you just get ahead of this and just say, hey, I made a mistake on my numbers, then this thing is over and everybody respects you for your opinion. And, you might like Boston. I might like the Yankees. It's okay to have difference of opinions. Well, she got upset with me on the phone. And I was like, Sheryl, I'm not doing anything to hurt you. I'm just sharing. We're talking. And so our relationship it pretty much is not happening at this point. I tried to talk to her at the Final Four. Right. She didn't want to talk to me. My life's going to be good or great with or without Sheryl Swoopes in my life. I'd rather have her in it.
When Clark made her much-anticipated leap to the WNBA, the critiques kept coming. Many thought that Swoopes' disapproval might soften as Clark's dominance in the league became undeniable, but it seemed to only grow. On her podcast, Swoopes often focused on other players, seemingly refusing to give Clark the attention her play deserved. Even when discussing the Fever's success post-Olympic break, Clark was notably absent from her praise, leaving fans and analysts wondering if there was something deeper fueling her ongoing critiques.
And was applauding Indiana Fever players, but then forgot to mention Caitlin Clark. She jumped all in my ass because I sat up there and said, hey, how you going to ignore Caitlin Clark? You know what she brings to the table.
This continuous tension fed the narrative that Swoopes was unwilling to embrace the new face of the WNBA.
To the table. Here's what I want y'all to know about some of the stats involving her. Average attendance in the 33 games Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever have played this season is at 15,746. That leads the WNBA, okay? Average attendance of WNBA games not involving Caitlin Clark is 8,490. So games that Caitlin Clark plays are averaging 85% more than non-Caitlin Clark games. Just throwing that out there. You need to know. You need to understand these are the kind of things that comes with it, okay?
Caitlin Clark's record-breaking year has been nothing short of remarkable, drawing attention not only for her standout performances but for the impact she's had on the league. Even her biggest critics have been forced to acknowledge that she has been on fire since the Olympic break. Averaging over 25 points per game and leading her team in assists, Clark wasn't just playing at a high level, she was reshaping what a WNBA rookie could achieve. One of the most astonishing feats of her season was reaching 100 career three-pointers faster than any player in league history.
To the table. Here's what I want y'all to know about some of the stats involving her. Average attendance in the 33 games Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever have played this season is at 15,746. That leads the WNBA, okay? Average attendance of WNBA games not involving Caitlin Clark is 8,490. So games that Caitlin Clark plays are averaging 85% more than non-Caitlin Clark games. Just throwing that out there. You need to know. You need to understand these are the kind of things that comes with it, okay? So we got
the fact that she had 2 triple-doubles this season has also made waves, earning her comparisons with some of the biggest WNBA and BA legends. Each game brings a new milestone for Caitlin, and the fact this is the first season WNBA players flew charter jets and played in big arenas just solidifies the fact how impactful she's been on the league. With the averages of 19 points, nearly 9 assists, and over 5 rebounds, Caitlin Clark's rookie season has set a new standard for the new generation of players. Outside of Candace Parker and Lisa Leslie, there's not a lot of WNBA players that have had a better rookie season. She's brought new fans to the game and sparked debates that stretch beyond basketball. While the drama surrounding her, like the tension with Sheryl Swoopes, adds fuel to the fire, it's clear that Clark is focused on one thing: winning. Thank you for watching. If you liked our video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button as well so you can be notified every time a new video drops.